Welcome to Mrs. Neller's notes for her double block algebra class. These are the notes for section 4.4 entitled Graphing Lines Using Intercepts. And today we're going to talk about how to find the intercept of a graph of a linear equation. And then we're going to use the x and the y intercepts to actually make a quick graph of the equation. And in order to do that, we have to know what the x-intercept and the y-intercept are. So the x-intercept is the x-coordinate of a point where the line crosses the x-axis. So it's going to be some number and then 0 as an ordered pair. If it's the x-axis value that we're looking for, then the number is going to be in the x spot in the ordered pair. And the y-intercept is the y-coordinate of a point where a line crosses the y-axis. And to be on the y-axis, you have to be 0 and then a number as an ordered pair. So again, that number is going to tell you where the line crosses the y-axis. So let's take a look at these graphs and see if we can find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So for part A, if we're going to find our x-intercept, we want to look at our x-axis, and then we can just basically count back to right there. That's where the line crosses the x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like it's at -4. So -4, 0 would be my x-intercept. And then to find my y-intercept, I want to look on the y-axis. And again, I can just count and find those values. Looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when I write that ordered pair, it's going to be 0, 5. And that will be my y-intercept. So let's try that again for part B. I'm going to look at my x-axis. I want to find where the line crosses the x-axis. I want to find that nice little grid point. And it looks like it's at 3, 0 for my x-intercept. And then for my y-intercept, I'm going to look at my y-axis. I want to find that nice grid point where the graph crosses the y-axis. And it looks like it's at 0, -1. So that will be my y-intercept. Okay, so finding the x-intercept and the y-intercept off a graph should be very basic. And what we're going to do next, I hope, if I can go to the next slide, there we go, is we're actually going to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept algebraically. And to find the x-intercept algebraically, you substitute 0 in for y, and then you solve for x. So they're going to give you an equation of a line. Could be in standard form or slope-intercept form, doesn't matter. You replace the y in that equation with a 0, and then you solve for x, because you'll only have that x variable left, so you'll be able to solve for it and get a number. And then to find the y-intercept, you do the opposite. You substitute 0 in for x and solve for y. Now again, remember, the reason that we do that is because for an x-intercept, it's a number and then 0. So 0 is in the y spot in that ordered pair. So y is 0 for your x-intercept. And remember, for the y-intercept, it's 0 and then a number. So we substitute in 0 for x because 0 is that x value in the ordered pair for a y-intercept. So another way to think of this is that if you're trying to find the x-intercept, you put 0 in for the opposite variable. You put it in for y. If you're trying to find the y-intercept, you put 0 in for the opposite variable. You put it in for x. So let's do that here in example 2. we're going to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So to find my x-intercept, I'm going to plug 0 in for y. So I have y equals negative 2x plus 50. So I'm going to put a 0 in for the y and leave everything else the same. And now doing that gets rid of my extra variable. Now I just have one variable that I can solve for. So I'm going to subtract the 50. So I will have negative 50 equals negative 2x. And then if I divide both sides by negative 2, I'll have x equals 25. Now I'm not going to leave my answer like that though. My answer is actually going to be written as an ordered pair. 25, 0. And then to find my y-intercept, kind of smushed on room here, but we'll squeeze it in. I'm going to substitute in 0 for x. So I go back to my original equation. Y equals negative 2, and instead of x, I'm going to put 0 plus 50. Well, 2 times 0, or negative 2 times 0 is just 0, plus 50 is 50, so y equals 50. But again, I'm not going to write it like that for my answer. I'm going to write my answer as the y-intercept, 0, 50. So I want to write those ordered pairs for my x-intercept and my y-intercept. Okay, so let's try that again for part B. I'll use a different color here. Put a little line so we can keep them separated. Okay, so for my x-intercept, I'm going to plug 0 in for y. So x minus 6 times 0 equals 6. Well, 6 times 0 is just 0, and x minus 0 is just x, so x equals 6. And then I have to write it as an ordered pair, 6 and then 0. And writing it as an ordered pair should help reinforce the concept of the y value has to be 0 because I put 0 in for y into the equation. And then for my y-intercept, I'm going to plug 0 in for x. So 0 minus 6y equals 6. Again, I'm going back to this original equation that they gave us, and I'm substituting in there. Well, 0 minus 6y is just minus 6y. And then if I divide by the negative 6 to get the y by itself, I'll have y equals negative 1. But again, I'm not going to write my answer like that. I'm going to write it as an ordered pair. I put 0 in for x, and then I got negative 1 out for y. So that would be my answer. Okay, and then part C looks a little scarier because there's bigger numbers. That just doesn't change the process at all. My x-intercept, I'm still going to substitute in 0 for y. Now, this equation is written in standard form, and so was part B. So actually, when you're doing the substitution here, it's really, really easy to just kind of take out that whole y term. If I substitute 0 in for y, I know that this whole 4y is going to go away. So you could just go right to this next step, 12x equals 96. Because 4 times 0 is just 0, and 12x minus 0 is just 12x. But it's always good to show all your work. And then 96 divided by 12 is going to be 8. So again, when I write my ordered pair, I'm going to write 8, because that was the value I got for x, and then 0, because that's what I substituted in for y. Okay, and then for my y-intercept again, I'm going to plug 0 in for x. So that whole 12x term is going to go away. So again, if you recognize that when it's written in standard form like this, you can just go right to negative 4y equals 96. Just don't forget that minus in front of the 4 now is going to act like a negative. So 12 minus 0 is just 0. 0 minus 4y is just negative 4y. And then we divide the 96 by the negative 4. So y is going to actually be negative 24. And again, I'm going to write my answer as an ordered pair. 0, because that's what I substituted in for x, and then negative 24, because that's what I got for my value for y. So finding the x-intercept and the y-intercept are meant to be very nice, easy substitution concepts. You're just substituting in 0, and then you're solving an equation. So this is stuff that we've done in the previous chapters. You are very, very good at these skills. Okay, and then example 3 says use the answers from example 2, part B. So let's see. My x-intercept for example number 2, part B, I'm going to write that down, was 6, 0. And then my y-intercept was 0, negative 1. Okay, so that's the information that we had from example 2, part B. And it says to use the x and y intercepts only to graph the line. So once you know your x and your y intercept, graphing with them is kind of like a little shortcut. Usually we say that you need 3 points to make a line. This is the only time you need 2. Okay? So once you know your x-intercept and your y-intercept, you're going to plot them on the graph. So I have 6, 0 right there, and then 0, negative 1 right there, and then you connect them. There's the graph of your line. Okay? So you're going to have some problems in your homework where they want you to find the x-intercept and find the y-intercept and graph. So in our notes, we kind of broke it down into 2 parts, but you might have some problems in your homework where they want you to do all 3 of those things. And speaking of homework, there are your problems that you can practice these concepts. And if you need some graph paper, make sure that you've either picked some up from the classroom or go online and search for some graph paper and print some out for yourself. If you have any questions, come on in and see me before school.